What if I told you an African empire built walls 4 times longer than China's Great Wall? Enclosed within the wall was a city alive with art, trade, and innovation. Imagine streets lined with lanterns glowing like stars on earth, where artisans forged bronze masterpieces so lifelike they seemed to breathe. This wasn't a fantasy realm, but the very real capital of the Benin Empire, a beacon of sophistication centuries before Europe's Renaissance. But here's the twist: its greatest treasures stolen, its story nearly erased. Ready to uncover the truth? Let's dive into a tale of glory, betrayal, and resilience that'll leave you speechless. Long before its rise to greatness, the Benin Empire began in the lush forests of what's now southern Nigeria. Small villages of farmers, fishers, and traders dotted the landscape, led by local chiefs in a patchwork of communities. Life was simple, but unity was elusive, until the Ogiso dynasty emerged around the 11th century. These sky kings claimed divine rule, bringing order to the chaos and laying the foundation for something greater. By the late 12th century, however, chaos crept back in. The people grew restless, the Ogiso faltered, and the stage was set for a revolution. The Edo people, yearning for stability, turned to Oran Miyan, a prince from the revered city of Ife, 100 miles away. Oran Miyan arrived at their plea and stabilized things, but he didn't stay long. He left behind a son, Iweka, born to an Edo princess. Iweka became the first Oba, the king of a new dynasty, and with him, the Benin kingdom rose from humble roots to a force to be reckoned with. Under his leadership, scattered villages transformed into a centralized kingdom, laying the groundwork for something extraordinary. Think about it. One man's journey sparked centuries of greatness. Streets were paved, markets thrived, and massive earthen walls rose around the city, a symbol of unity and strength. By the time medieval Europe was still finding its footing, Benin had already mastered governance, architecture, and community planning. And oh, it was just the beginning. By the 15th century, the Benin Empire reached its zenith under Oba Ewuare the Great, a ruler whose vision transformed a kingdom into a legend. A brilliant strategist and innovator, Ewuare expanded Benin's territory through conquest and diplomacy, stretching its influence from the Niger River Delta to modern-day Lagos. Yet, his greatest legacy lies within the empire's heart. Benin City, a marvel of urban planning and artistic achievement that dazzled even European visitors. European travelers of the 17th century were awestruck by the city's sophistication. Dutch writer Olfert Dapper, compiling accounts in 1668, marveled at its layout. The city is composed of 30 broad streets, very straight and not 120 feet wide, besides a great number of smaller streets, all very clean. What made Benin City truly extraordinary, though, was its attention to detail. Lanterns illuminated the streets at night, casting a warm glow over meticulously planned roads that connected bustling markets, grand palaces, and sacred shrines. Those streets weren't just functional. They were symbols of order, progress, and divine authority. Portuguese captain Lorenzo Pinto, visiting in 1691, compared it to Europe's finest cities. Great Benin, where the king resides, is larger than Lisbon. All the streets run straight and as far as the eye can see. At the city's core stood the royal palace, a sprawling complex that left visitors speechless. Dutch traveler David van Niendale, who visited in the late 17th century, described it as very large, having within it many large 4-square places, surrounded with a gallery where the king's guards are always kept. He was captivated by its artistic splendor, noting pillars covered with cast copper, whereon are engraved the pictures of their war exploits and battles. These brass plaques, now famous as the Benin bronzes, were not mere decorations but visual chronicles, preserving the empire's triumphs, traditions, and divine authority. Protecting this thriving metropolis were the Benin Walls, a monumental feat of engineering. Fred Pierce of the New Scientist underscored their scale in 19704, stating, "The earthworks are 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China and consumed 100 times more material than the Great Pyramid of Cheops." This colossal undertaking, estimated to have required 150 million hours of labor, showcased the empire's organizational prowess and ambition. Artistry defined Benin's golden age. The Benin bronzes, crafted using the lost wax casting technique, were masterpieces of African ingenuity. Skilled guilds of artisans produced these works to adorn the palace and honor the Oba, depicting kings, warriors, and spiritual figures in breathtaking detail. Trade flourished alongside art, with merchants exchanging ivory, pepper, and cloth across Africa and beyond, even reaching Europe and Asia. Ewuare's reforms, inventive roads, city wards, and support for the arts fueled a prosperity that echoed far beyond Benin's borders, marking an era of brilliance that still inspires awe. By the twilight of the 19th century, the Benin Empire stood as a towering symbol of African independence, a kingdom that had resisted the tightening grip of European colonialism. Yet, its very strength made it a target. The British, driven by greed and ambition, sought to dominate West Africa's trade networks and tap into the empire's rich rubber reserves, a vital resource for Europe's booming tire industry. The Oba, however, held firm control over Benin's trade, frustrating British officials and fueling their desire to dismantle his authority. What began as economic rivalry soon spiraled into a clash that would bring the kingdom to its knees. Britain's first move was subtle but sinister. They approached the Oba with a treaty, cloaked in promises of protection, but designed to strip away Benin's sovereignty. The Oba, wise to their deception, refused to sign. In response, he barred all British officials and traders from entering Benin's territories, a bold act of defiance that the British interpreted as hostility. Tensions escalated, and in November 1896, James Robert Phillips, a British official stationed in the region, grew impatient. Without awaiting approval from London, he devised a plan to invade Benin City, depose the Oba, and replace him with a puppet council. In late December 1896, Phillips launched his expedition, disguising its true purpose beneath a facade of peace. His forces marched toward Benin, demanding entry in defiance of Benin's laws. Alarmed, the Oba summoned his high-ranking nobles for an emergency council. The Iyase, commander-in-chief of Benin's army, argued passionately for action. "The white man brings war," he declared, urging a preemptive strike. The Oba hesitated, hoping for a peaceful resolution, but the council sided with the Iyase. A strike force, led by senior commander Ologbosere, ambushed Phillips's expedition, cutting through the disguised force with devastating precision. Only 2 British officers escaped with their lives. Britain's response was swift and merciless. Determined to avenge their loss and crush Benin's resistance, they launched the punitive expedition, a juggernaut of 120 British Marines, 100 Royal Sailors, 30 African Scouts, and 250 African troops. On February 9, 1897, the assault began. Benin's defenders fought with desperate courage, but the tide turned when the African troops fighting for the British broke through. Benin City fell, its streets engulfed in flames, its sacred sites desecrated. The palace, once a symbol of Benin's grandeur, was reduced to ashes. The fall of Benin City marked the beginning of a cultural catastrophe. British forces ransacked the palace, seizing over 2,500 artifacts, including the legendary Benin bronzes, masterpieces of bronze and ivory that embodied the empire's soul. These treasures were shipped to Europe, destined for museums and private collections. Their theft, a wound that still echoes today. The Oba was exiled, his kingdom annexed, and Benin's light extinguished. Yet, even in defeat, Benin's art spoke louder than its conquerors. The bronzes, with their intricate craftsmanship and profound beauty, stunned the European world, challenging long-held prejudices and leaving an indelible mark on global culture. But Benin's spirit couldn't be extinguished. Its legacy endures in the resilience of its people and the echoes of its past. For over a century, the stolen Benin bronzes sat in foreign museums, but the fight for their return never ceased. Activists, scholars, and Edo descendants demanded justice, their voices rising. Return our history. Change is unfolding. In 2021, Germany vowed to return 22 bronzes, fulfilled in 2022. The Smithsonian repatriated 29 pieces in 2023, and even smaller institutions, like the University of Iowa, followed in 2024. Nigeria is building a new museum in Benin City to house these treasures, a bold reclaiming of identity. Beyond artifacts, Benin's influence thrives in modern African art, where young creators fuse ancient techniques with contemporary vision. The empire's story shapes Nigeria's pride today, a testament to brilliance that colonial powers couldn't erase. What's the lesson here? Resilience. The Benin Empire teaches us that power isn't just in walls or bronze. It's in the will to rise again. Its art still inspires, its story still resonates, and its people still stand tall. This isn't the end of Benin's tale. It's a new chapter, one we're all part of. Loved this dive into the Benin Empire? Hit that like button, subscribe to History's Africa, and share this video with anyone hungry for Africa's untold stories. Your support keeps this history alive. Stay tuned for more epic journeys.